The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to what will hopefully be a successful review. And today, fresh off the heels of its release, I decided, even though I'm 1.5, technically almost 2 years behind in reviewing Transformers action figures, as you can see by the wall behind me here, I have at least 1.5 years worth of Transformers action figures to review. And that's not even all of it, what you're picturing behind me as I move my camera over here so you guys can see. Up here in the corner is Legacy Evolution Armada Megatron, but next to him, woo, look at that stack of boxes full of Transformers action figures I still have to review. So I have a list, and even though I grouped some of them together because I'm gonna try and see if I can maybe do group reviews just to reduce the number of individual reviews I have to record. I'm working a new full-time job where I work Monday through Friday, and I now only have the weekends to record reviews. Some of my subscribers have thankfully told me to wait for the weekend to start recording my new reviews. But some of the Transformers action figures that I've gotten are box sets that contain multiple figures inside them. So if I were to list out each individual Transformers action figure and do a review on each and every one of them, even though on my countdown list I actually have told myself that I only have 33 Transformers action figures to review. I think the individual number I don't know exactly, but I think it's like closer to like 55, maybe close to 60 individual Transformers action figures, so that's a little overwhelming to me, and I'm hoping that someday soon I'll finally stop having to play catch up and finally be caught up in having reviewed all my Transformers action figures. Not all of them I'm going to review right away, as some of them I've been keeping in the box for quite a long time. As you can see on the top of the screen back there, that is Studio Series 86 Grimlock, who was released back in 2019. I told myself when Grimlock came out back then that I would wait until all 5 of the Dinobots were released in leader class size, so it's been confirmed that Swoop will be released next year in 2023. That's one Dinobot released a year here, but that's enough of the announcements I have. It's close to midnight where I live. Actually, it is midnight. Alright, so let's see if I can try and get this review done and still get a decent night's sleep. So, fresh off the heels of its release, we're going to be taking a look at one of the exclusive Transformers action figures that, after looking around the box, I realized technically it's not part of the Legacy Evolution line because the Legacy Evolution logo is nowhere to be found on it, but by all accounts, because one of the figures that was released in this exclusive set is a repaint and a retool of a figure that was released in the Legacy Year 1 line. The other figures were released during the War for Cybertron trilogy lines of Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom. And let's get into what is one of the either you're on board or you're not on board with it exclusive Transformer sets, and it is the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Troop Builder Multipack. So yeah, here it is. This is the most recently released box set or large-sized box set of Transformers action figures released in the exclusive Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. Here in the United States, the Buzzworthy figures are released exclusively at Target stores. In countries where Target stores aren't found, I think collectors have to use to either import the Buzzworthy figures on the internet, or I think in some lucky countries, the Buzzworthy figures are either sold exclusively at other stores or they're sold at mass retail in a handful of countries. So it's really difficult if you don't have Target with you here. But one of the reasons why I just said that this is out of all the Transformers figures that have been released in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line recently, one of the reasons why this is one where Transformers fans and collectors, there isn't much middle ground. Either you're in on the set and you really love it, or you think it's a pass and you don't really think it's something that you would enjoy, is because the figures you get in this set, even though they're all basically generic army building Transformers action figures that don't necessarily have individual names and identities, and he's for the price you pay for a lot of collectors and fans for the 4 figures that you get. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, the price tag isn't worth it, but for me personally, it is worth it, and I will explain why later on in the review. But for now, let's take a look at the 4 figures you get in this box set. You've got the generic Decepticon Seeker from Generation 1. You've got the Quintesson Trooper, also from Generation 1. Then you've got, it specifically states the Transformers G2 Universe Cybertronian Trooper, and so these guys were featured in the Transformers Generation 2 comic books because as Generation 2 didn't have its own cartoon show. And last, but definitely by no means least, you got the animated universe Autot Trooper. And one thing to note about these, I said this in my last collection haul video when I mentioned about this, and I said I repeat myself, but these 3 guys right here, they each have an alternate head sculpt. Head sculpt here on the box art, they've each got one of the head sculpts, but then here on the top of the box, when it shows product photos of the faces, the Decepticon Seeker is the only figure that doesn't have an alternate head because it's not designed to be interchangeable on the mold, but the others, they have the alternate heads, which are the different ones compared to the box art. So on the Quintesson Trooper here on the top of the box, you've got the Allicon head, and then for the G2 Trooper, you've got the white skull-faced head with the green horns, and on the box art, it's reversed. It's the green head with the white horns, and then for the Quintesson Trooper, that's the Allicon head on the picture on top, and then on the box art, you've got the Bailiff head here, which on that note, this was the figure originally that I was gonna get this box set for, was because the Quintesson Trooper has the Quintesson Bailiff head. The Quintesson Bailiff was a figure released in the Earthrise line in the Quintesson Pit of Judgment Hasbro Pulse exclusive box set. I've never gotten that set. I wanted to get it back when it was released, but I could never find it for a decent price on the internet. So, yeah, finally being able to get the Quintesson Troopers with the Bailiff head was the main driving force for me to get this set. And then here for the Autot Trooper, you've got this robot mode head right here where there's red goggles on top of the head, and it's got a red visor. And then for the box art, the alternate head, the other head you get is where you get a pair of black goggles, and you've got a teal colored visor on here and on here. So for the 2 different head sculpts on the Quintesson Trooper, you can either have it be an Allicon or the Bailiff head on it. And for the G2 Troopers, they had these 2 head designs in the Generation 2 comic books right there. But for the Autot Trooper, it's slightly different. Unlike the different head sculpts for the Quintesson and G2 Troopers, for the Autot Troopers here, the head sculpt that's pictured here on the top of the box, that's the head sculpt the Autot Troopers had in the Transformers animated cartoon show. But the second head sculpt here is from a different series. The head sculpt that's pictured with the Autot Trooper on the box art is from the franchise that technically introduced the Autot Troopers back in 2005. Animated came out in 2008, which is what this version of the Autot Trooper is implied to be on the box. And the series that introduced the Autot Troopers to the Transformers franchise was arguably the biggest facepalm franchise of the Transformers. And the series that introduced the Autot Troopers was a franchise that, if you guys haven't heard of it, I apologize for telling you about it right now in this review, so pause ahead a couple of seconds if you wish, if you don't want to hear about it. But the series that introduced the Autot Troopers was a series called Transformers Kiss Players. And it's the closest any Transformers series has come to being a full-blown Japanese manga. The plot behind Kiss Players is pretty self-explanatory. It's a series where in an alternate universe the Transformers get power boosts when they receive kisses from human girls and women. So yeah, that is arguably the most controversial Transformers franchise I've ever seen. It's the most embarrassing one, and with its plot line. And even Takara Tomy, when all was said and done, admitted that the plot was a little far too how should I put this correct? How should I put this politely? Too much of an X-rated series areas to be acceptable even by the standards of Transformers, even back in 2005. So, yeah, that was definitely a low blow. Oh, even for Takara Tomy when they realized it afterwards. Another thing to note here on the pictures on the top of the box, you've got the faction logos for all these four characters. For the G1 Seeker, you've got the Generation 1 Decepticon logo. For the Quintesson Troopers, you've got you actually got, I don't know if this logo is new or not, but you've got this like skull face logo right here, which I believe is based on the Quintesson faces from the G1 Marvel comic books. It almost looks to me like the face sculpt of that talked to Optimus Prime about ending the hate plague. I don't know if that's coincidental or not. So, yeah, unfortunately, the Quintesson Troopers, the faction that was created for the Quintessons during the Earthrise line in 2020 of the Mercenaries, I guess Hasbro doesn't own the rights to it anymore, so they just came up with a new face sculpt for the Quintessons to have. So it's interesting to see that there. The G2 Troopers have the Generation 2 Decepticon logo on here, which is really nice. I believe it's based off the head sculpt for the Generation 2 Decepticon logo. I thought I read somewhere that it's based off the Action Master, the G1 Action Master version of Soundwave, since the G1 Decepticon logo here is based off of Generation 1 Soundwave's face sculpt, so the original figure, so that's really nice that they were able to do that for the G2 Decepticon Troopers. And then the Autot Troopers, they have the Autot Trooper badge logo, the logo from Transformers Animated, where it's the Autobot logo surrounded by additional markings, which makes it look like a policeman's badge. So, yeah, that's pretty nice to see that there. So on this side of the box, you've got the poster image that actually wraps around from the front of the box for the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. You've got, I believe on the top, that's just some hexagon material right there, but then you've got Megatron On's image from the Transformers Evergreen posters. Then you've got Optimus Prime from and you've got Bumblebee, and then you've got RC down here on the bottom. And the idea of Bumblebee being pictured here along with Optimus Prime, Megatron, and RC is that is that any Transformers character from any series could be released on the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. And since Buzzworthy Bumblebee was released before Transformers Legacy, you could make the joke that the Buzzworthy line was a precursor to Legacy. Here on this side of the box art, you've got these zoomed out image of the same face sculpt image of Bumblebee that's pictured here. And that's why I said that even though the Legacy Evolution logo is nowhere on this box, that it's designed to interact with figures from the released in the Legacy Evolution line, because you've got the same thing that's been done with Legacy, where on one side of the box you've got an image of the character's face, and you've got a zoomed out image showing the character's entire body on one side. So yeah, that's pretty nice there. And I believe, yes, that is the evergreen design for Bumblebee. So come on here to the back of the box. You've got your generic product photos. You've got the Decepticon Seeker, who transforms back and forth between both modes in 27 steps. The Quintesson Trooper transforms in just 16 steps. The G2 Trooper in 18 steps. And the Autot Trooper in 14 steps. So all these figures are repaints and retools of previously released figures. The head sculpts for the G2 Troopers and the Autot Troopers, both head sculpts are, I believe, brand new designs. The two head sculpts for the Quintesson Trooper aren't new. You've got the either the Allicon head or the Bailiff head to choose from on there. And so the Decepticon Seeker is a straight up repaint of Earthrise Starscream. The Quintesson Trooper repaint of the Earthrise Allicons. The G2 Troopers are repaints of Legacy Skullgrin, and the Autot Troopers are repaints of Siege Ironhide. And the main reason for these mold choices is because in the Generation 1 cartoon, the generic Decepticon Seekers were lavender purple recolors of the Decepticon Seeker jets of Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker. And the main reason these were created was by Sunbow Productions was because the Autobots outnumbered the Decepticons 2 to 1, almost 3 to 1, in fact. So to increase the number of Decepticons on the battlefield, Sunbow Productions just took the animation models for the Seeker jets and did them in lavender purple, and had a whole bunch of extra Decepticon jets around as more Decepticon characters were added during the second half of Season 1 of Transformers Generation 1, along with Season 2. The generic Decepticon Seekers were slowly phased out. The Allicon Trooper, if I haven't said it already, was a repaint of the Earthrise Allicons, and yeah, these are just the along with the Sharkticons, these are basically the two transforming robots that serve the Quintessons. I can't say the exact reason why Hasbro decided to make and Takara Tomy decided to use Legacy Skullgrin as the base mold for the G2 Troopers, other than the fact that they're somewhat they have somewhat a feature in common with Skullgrin. The feature being that they're both skeletal looking robots that transform into tanks. So it's pretty nice that just like all the other Generation 2 Transformers characters that have been released in Legacy, that they took the images from the G2 comic books and finally made an action figure out of them, just like G-Axis. And on that note, that is who the G2 Troopers served under in the comic books, was G-Axis and the Decepticons. So basically, in this box set, you get three villains and one hero. And speaking of the only hero, the Autot Trooper, main reason why it's a repaint of the mold that was originally used on Siege Ironhide is because the previous action figures of the Autot Troopers that were released by Hasbro in the Transformers animated line were repaints of animated Ironhide. And sorry about that, I got distracted by something. But anyways, as I was saying, the Autot Troopers, the original figures of them, which were released at BotCon 2010, I believe, they were mold mates with the Transformers animated version of Ironhide, and so yeah, the Autot Troopers have a history of being mold mates with Ironhide and also Ratchet. So that was, I can at least say with 100% certainty, that was one of the reasons why the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy made the new Autot Trooper figure, the Buzzworthy figure. They did it from the Siege Ironhide mold. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much a brief explanation of these guys. Let's get these guys all out of the box and take a close look at them. We'll start off with the modes that they come packaged in. I believe from images I've already seen on the internet, they come packaged in their alt modes due to the having to fit into a flat box. This is the exact same size box that was released in the Buzzworthy line last year in 2022, which was the Transformers Creatures Collide 4-pack that contained Goldbug, Ransack, and also Skywasp and Scorponok were the names of the other figures. But yes, these guys are all really impressive looking, so let's take a close look at them, shall we? Alright, so before we actually get them unpackaged, here they are inside the inner box, inside the inner packaging. So the Autot Trooper, the G2 Trooper, and the Decepticon Seeker, they all come packaged, transformed into their alt modes. And right out of the box, the Decepticon Seeker has plastic peeling off there at the back of the cockpit, so that's very discouraging to see. But hopefully it won't be too bad and a thing over time. And the only one packaged in robot mode is the Quintesson Trooper, because technically the Quintesson Trooper, the way it transforms with the Allicon head or Beast Mode head hanging off the back as a backpack, the robot mode head is technically thinner than the alt mode is. But I'm really impressed seeing all these guys here, even inside the inner packaging. So let's take a close look at them all one by one. Alright, so first up we have the Decepticon Seeker transformed into jet mode, and I've seen multiple collectors say that if they had missed out on Earthrise Thundercracker, that this would be a decent substitute for it. I can kind of see why they're saying that, because out of all the Seekers, Thundercracker is the one that the generic Seeker is whose paint job is closest to. But in hand, it's pretty obvious if you were lucky enough to get a hold of Earthrise Thundercracker when he was released back in 2020, the color differences. So bringing Thundercracker in here for a moment, here is the generic Seeker, the generic Seeker next to Thundercracker, and if I angle them down like this, you can kind of see my camera is kind of picking up the difference, especially if I overlap them. So Thundercracker is solid blue, but the generic nameless Decepticon Seeker jet is almost like a lavender purple. So in hand, and human eyes are able to pick up the differences a lot more than my camera is. If I actually hold them like this at this angle, there you can see the paint difference between them. So yeah, blue is Thundercracker and purple is the nameless Seeker. So the paint difference is enough that it is noticeable. On some cameras and at some angles, but it's amazing how if you angle it just right, the color differences almost disappear, and then at other angles like this one, the color differences are pretty obvious. So yeah, the nameless generic Decepticon Seeker jet is basically a lavender purple version of Thundercracker here. At least one thing is that the Decepticon logos are much more noticeable in this one than they are at Thundercracker. This is one thing where I wish Hasbro and Takara Tomy would have considered using white or silver outlines on logos rather than not having a background outline on the logos, because they almost disappear into the vehicle modes. So that's a little discouraging to see that. But yeah, it's if you can get it at the right angle, you can make out the differences between Thundercracker and this figure. So since it's late at night, I'm not going to transform Thundercracker, so I won't do a robot mode size comparison of the nameless Seeker in robot mode. But yeah, it is pretty nice to see that the nameless Seekers that we used as background characters have finally been given official action figures by both Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Alright, and so here is the generic Decepticon Seeker transformed into robot mode, and with the lavender purple, one could argue that this could pass for Slipstream if you wanted to give it an identity. Slipstream wasn't introduced until Transformers Animated in 2008. Right out of the box, the hip joints at the very top of the leg are a little stiff and loose, so I don't know if that's mold degradation or if it's just this one individual copy. But yeah, the legs just want to flop around a bit. They don't want to stay spread apart, so that's a little discouraging to see. So if you have the Earthrise Seeker mold, the articulations should be similar to you. The head's on a ball joint, so it can spin and around left and right. And another reason why this is the only figure in the Trooper Builder 4-pack is because the only other version of the Seeker heads that were released were the cone heads, and the head sculpt for the Earthrise Seekers, it's not designed to be removable, or if you want to remove it, you could put yourself at risk of breaking the ball joint that holds the head in place. So it makes sense for it to use the same head sculpt that's been used multiple times here. And I love that they used the more neutral frowning face on here instead of the evil smirking face that was used on some of the other Seekers. Got universal joints at the shoulders, so the arms have the potential to spin in 360 degrees forwards and backwards, but it's hindered by the wings being on the back. Swivel jointed biceps, hinged elbows, no wrist articulation, but you can have the hand pointing upward to make it look like the hand is coming off the arm. No waist articulation due to how it transforms. Legs can go forward this far, hindered forward this far, hindered by the hip skirt. It can only go back this far since it's hindered by the back cover over at the bottom. Swivel joints all the way at the very top of the thigh. Hinged knees. Feet can go up and down, but the feet and the heels move independently, and the only joint that holds the entire foot together is the ankle pivot. And yeah, that's pretty much the Decepticon on Seeker in robot mode. Again, because it's purple, while Thundercracker is blue. If you missed out on Earthrise Thundercracker, then I guess it can technically pass for a Thundercracker stand-in figure due to the similarities in paint jobs, but since it's lavender purple, one could also easily argue that this could be Slipstream if you want to give this Seeker an identity. But for me personally, I have no interesting. I have no intention of giving it a name, just treating it like a Seeker. Although I have shared with some friends of mine that if I were to give the generic Decepticon Seeker an actual name, I would name the figure Dropout, since these guys just drop out of the sky every time they're attacked by the Autobots. I'd say that's a pretty fun joke with that figure. Alright, so up next we have the Transformers animated Autot Trooper. It's a straight up repaint in vehicle mode of Siege Ironhide. I apologize for not bringing Siege Ironhide out for a size comparison with this vehicle, but the Siege Ironhide mold, it's one of those molds where you either completely love it or completely hate it, and I do like some versions of this mold more than others, I have to admit. But yeah, this is the Autot Trooper. It's basically supposed to be a police SUV, a Cybertronian version. I don't think the Autot Troopers ever came to Earth in either Transformers Animated or in Transformers Kiss Players. They just kind of stayed on Cybertron, and that's why they're known as the Auto Troop, the Auto Troopers. They're basically the generic police officers who help defend the Autobots against any Decepticon attack. I do admit, though, I do admire that the Auto Troopers have their own modified version of the Autobot faction logo, which is has additional stripes on the top and bottom, so the Autobot logo looks like a police badge. So that's pretty nice to see that there. Unfortunately, the Auto Trooper does come with the exact same transforming weapon that's come with almost every version of the Siege Ironhide mold, where you have a six-barreled bazooka missile launcher type weapon that you can hinge the front end forward like this, and then you can use either one of these 5mm posts right here, and it becomes a sledgehammer, which Ironhide was shown having. I thought he was shown having it in Transformers Animated. I could be wrong. But yeah, this is a transforming weapon, same transforming weapon that came with Siege Ironhide originally. So let's get the Auto Trooper transformed and take a close look at it in robot mode. Alright, and so here's the Auto Trooper transformed into robot mode. I have it holding the weapon as the hammer, since the Auto Troopers are police officers. You could make the joke that they're bringing down the hammers of justice on any lawbreakers on planet Cybertron. So that's a really fun and entertainment value there. So yeah, it's pretty much a mostly white and black version of Siege Ironhide with a new head sculpt. It's very nice distribution of black and white being the traditional colors of police officers and also police cars, more specifically. And out of the package, the head sculpt that's attached to the figure is the teal visored, black goggled head sculpt, which is from Transformers Kiss Players. So technically, this isn't the animated universe Auto Trooper when this head sculpt is attached. It's the Transformers Kiss Players universe Auto Trooper, and along with the same aim weapon that came with Ironhide, the other accessory for this figure is, of course, the alternate head, which is the actual head of the Auto Troopers had in the Transformers animated series. So it's somewhat difficult, somewhat easy, but to swap the heads out, you actually push forward gently on the head, and then here's the actual interior of the area of it that's attached to it. So unfortunately, over time, I can see the 5, maybe 10 years from now on eBay, people selling the the Buzzworthy Auto Trooper with neither of the heads attached and both being lost. But to make it an actual animated universe Auto Trooper head, here it is with that one. And so yeah, again, this head sculpt here with the teal visor and black goggles is from Transformers Kiss Players, and here it is in Transformers Animated. I saw a collector, some collectors have figured out that the open chest area can act as a storage compartment for the alternate head if you don't want to lose it, and then if you don't want to actually be staring at the face of the alternate head sculpt, you can have it turned around. It's kind of hard to have it sitting in place without moving around, but yeah, there's there's just enough space inside the robot mode chest for head storage there if you desire. So yeah, that's a not fun option to have. And so there is the animated universe Autot Trooper. I was I remember when the original Autot Trooper figures were released at BotCon, how cool looking it was seeing Ironhide in black and white police colors, and so I've secretly always wanted to have the Autot Troopers in hand, and I'm grateful that Hasbro and Takara used the Buzzworthy line to help collectors who've always wanted the Autot Troopers and couldn't never afford to get the BotCon exclusive figures. So apart from the new head sculpt, all with the swappable faces, that's pretty much the only new part on the Autot Trooper. So if you aren't really into the Siege Ironhide mold, then this figure could be a pass for you. And that's another one of the that's been another one of the make it or break it deals with this entire boxed set is that not all collectors want all 4 figures that you get in the set. And some of them are passes for them, and while other figures are must-have figures, and I've already seen on eBay people selling the figures they don't want and buying multiple copies of the other figures that they do want. Alright, next up we have the figure that I originally was most excited about and the figure that motivated me to get this set, and it is the Quintesson Trooper. And I apologize for repeating myself at this point, but yeah, the main reason I wanted to get this figure was because it has the same head sculpt and the same really tall shoulder spikes that were used on the Earthrise Quintesson Bailiff. It also comes with the same weapon where you've got this like double axe crossbow on top of the staff, and then you've got a mace or flail at the bottom, and then of course you got the same dagger weapon formed from the tail of the beast mode. But yeah, that was my main motivator for getting the Quintesson Trooper was finally owning the version of the mold that was used on the Quintesson Bailiff, and it really is a menacing looking face sculpt. At first glance, it looks like it's wearing a mask over its mouth, but then at the end tip, that is its mouth right there with the snarling teeth on there. And even though it's unpainted, my camera's making it look as though the inside of the mouth is a lighter shade of paint than the teeth are, so at least it helps bring the teeth out a bit. But yeah, look at that face. That's just bleh, that's the face of a robot you never want to encounter. Um, the shoulder spikes are individual parts. I believe they are rubbery plastic, just like the double-bladed axe is rubbery plastic as well. Same thing with the beast mode arms that just dangle off the side of the robot mode arms. So I was kind of hoping that maybe for this iteration of the mold, Hasbro and Takara would relent and finally do this mold using soft plastic, but for safety standards, spikes like these can't be made out of hard plastic due to safety issues. But overall, I'm really thrilled with how the Quintesson Trooper turned out. I think it does have it does have the brand new Quintesson faction logo right here, but I believe this might be the new record for smallest faction logo painted on the surface of a Transformers action figure. Because look at that right there, in the center of the chest. It's kind of hard to tell because it's gold on silver paint, but yeah, that is right there. And my camera's blurring it as I move in, but that's the new Quintesson symbol right there on the center of the chest. So yeah, I think this figure might now hold the title of having the smallest faction logo of any Transformers character that's ever been released. At least that's so super tiny. It's not even funny about it. For a size comparison, here is the Quintesson Trooper next to the original version of the mold, the Earthrise Allicon that was released back in 2020. So yeah, here they are standing right beside each other. Again, the only different sculpted parts between both these figures are the different heads and the different shoulders, and of course the different staff weapons right here. The staff on the Earthrise Allicon doesn't is just one piece, but here on the Quintesson Trooper or Bailiff, you can separate the two halves of the staff, and you can have the axe and the flail be separate weapons if you want. And you can put the tail dagger off to the side, right, if you wish. So, whoops. Naturally, I dropped the thing while I'm on camera recording it, but yeah, really nice and impressive looking here. And then, of course, the alternate head that the figure comes with is the same head sculpt that's used on the Earthrise Allicon. On one nice thing, though, about this head version of the Allicon head in the original Earthrise one is that the dorsal fin and on the top of the original Earthrise Allicon is made out of very bendy, soft rubbery plastic, but the dorsal fin on the Allicon head that comes in the new Buzzworthy pack, even though it is still rubbery plastic, it's much more firm and solid looking, and so I don't know. I might swap out the heads on my Earthrise Allicons and use these new heads just to have the version of the head sculpt where the dorsal fin's made out of more durable plastic than this one. One copy, I have multiple copies of the Earthrise Allicon. I army built these figures, and yeah, the one copy had the dorsal fin bent out of shape, and it took forever for me to try and get it back in the correct order without damaging it. So I really love the new head sculpt on the new Buzzworthy Quintesson Trooper for that, using the same head sculpt that was used on the Quintesson Bailiff. So since it's just known as the generic Quintesson Trooper, technically, officially, it's not the Bailiff, even though I keep calling it that, but you at least have multiple options here. And of course, you can, when you swap the head on this, you can even swap it for the heads on the Earthrise Allicons if you desire. So you can mix and match these guys up in all sorts of ways. But yeah, it's just thrilling to finally have proper action figures of the Allicons out there. I won't swap the head on this figure since I got it for this head sculpt originally. But again, I might swap out the alternate head with my Earthrise Allicons just since it's made out of sturdier stuff. So let's get the Quintesson Trooper or Bailiff Trooper transformed into his beast mode and see what he looks like in alligator mode. Alright, and so here is the Quintesson Trooper transformed into beast mode, and it's essentially a two-legged robotic alligator mutant. That's what I've always thought of the Quintesson Trooper or Allicon's alternate mode being basically a two-legged alligator monster. And yeah, pretty much this was based on the animation model from the G1 movie and the third season of the cartoon by Sunbow Productions, and I applaud the designers at Hasbro and Takara for recreating that design. So in beast mode, there isn't much articulation apart from the arms just swiveling up and down at the elbow. Most of the articulation is in the legs, but it's the same joints that you had in robot mode, and I apologize, I just realized I didn't go over the articulation of the Quintesson Trooper in robot mode, but pretty much standard 101 articulation. Asian for the Allicon figure. The arms can go same articulation as the Earthrise Allicon is what I was trying to say. Arms can go forwards and backwards at the shoulder, swivel bicep, hinged elbows, swivel joint, and wrist. Head is technically on a ball joint, but it can only look left and right, and up and down so far. Universal jointed hips in the legs, so the legs have the potential to go forward and backwards up to 180 degrees out to the side that much. Swivel joint in the thigh. Hinged knees, but they can be pretty stiff. And then, of course, you have ankle rockers as well. So yeah, the new head sculpt. If you have the Earthrise Allicon that was released back in 2020, then the Quintesson Trooper, the new head sculpt doesn't affect the transformation. So that's pretty much it. So in beast mode, they are virtually identical. The only difference is that in beast mode, the new weapon dangling off the back just looks different, and of course you've got different sculpted, just like the robot mode shoulder, you've got different sculpted spikes here on the back of the heads. Here on the Allicons, you got one large single dorsal fin shaped spike. And then here on the Quintesson Trooper, you've got four smaller spikes. You've got one big one at the front and then three tiny ones there on the back. So But apart from the different spikes, I think everything else is the same. No, it's not. So the head sculpt is different. It's a different sculpted beast mode head, and again, I don't own the Quintesson Bailiff from the Pit of Judgment set, so I didn't know that. The lower jaw, I believe, is the exact same. Aim on both molds, but the upper jaw of the beast mode is different sculpting of the detailing. They're the same size, eyes, and similarly shaped, but they are different head sculpts, so that's pretty nice to see. Either they are different heads. Also, the paint job is the amount of paint used on the inside of the mouths is almost the same. It's just you get a much glossier and shinier red for the lower jaw on the Quintesson Trooper than you do the Earthrise Allicon. But yeah, it's a pretty good range of movement here on the mouth. And you do have different poses. You can do it here. Here I have the Trooper in kind of a hunchback position where the head's looking slightly downward. But yeah, just look at how wide that mouth opens. That is really menacing. So yeah, the Quintessons, no questions asked, have the most monstrous troopers out of all the, compared to the Autobots and the Decepticons, and the Quintesson Trooper here definitely lives up to that with how beastie his alternate mode is. Alright. Last but not least, we have what is personally my least favorite figure in this box set, which is the G2 Trooper. And the reason why it's my least favorite is because I said this in my review of the original version of this mold, but the Legacy Skullgrin mold is my least favorite mold to come out of the Legacy line so far. I hate the very bendy rubbery plastic used here on the blade weapons for this mold. And another thing that I didn't like about Skullgrin was his head sculpt, the way the horns would constantly pop off, and how rubbery plastic was used on his robot mode head. But I'm hoping the more solidly plastic heads here on the G2 Trooper will at least make the robot mode more enjoyable than Skullgrin was. So the vehicle mode is basically a hover tank. You've got some sculpted treads here on the back, but no wheels to be seen. And so it is a hover tank. And the entire tank turret is 3 different weapons that combine together. You can mix and match them up if you want. But that's pretty much all there is, and pretty much the best weapon storage for the blades is just having them sticking out off to the side. But I really hate the soft rubbery plastic that was used on those. I would enjoy them a lot more if they were solid plastic. So that's pretty much all there is to say about the G2 Trooper. They served G-Axis, and they were basically cannon fodder during the conflict in the G2 comic books. So without further delay, let's get the G2 Trooper transformed into his robot mode, and then once we look at robot mode for this guy, we'll wrap up the review. Alright, so here is the Generation 2 Trooper transformed into robot mode. And again, the Legacy Skullgrin mold's my least favorite mold, but at least the head being made out of solid plastic makes the robot mode much more tolerable than Skullgrin was. And of course, the weapons you can have in 2 different configurations. You can either have it in the blaster configuration or the sword configuration, and yeah, it's pretty impressive looking. So out of the package, it comes with the mostly white skull-faced head with the green horns attached. Here's the alternate head where the color scheme is somewhat reversed. We've got the mostly green head with the white horns, and I'm noticing right now that the white horns on the alternate head are articulated, and actually, now that I'm noticing it, yeah, the horns on both head sculpts are articulated, so if you wanted to, you can have the on both heads, you can have the horns either pointing downward like this, or you can have them pointing upward like this. So with having articulated horns, you could technically have up to 4 different head sculpts for the G2 Trooper, and removing the head on this figure is a lot more difficult than the Autot Trooper was. So Hopefully I can get it off without breaking the ball joint. Got it. So yeah, the head, the actual head that holds the face together is designed looking very weird. I had it angled downward, but yeah, there it is. It's there's the actual ball joint. So it's all personal preference which of these head sculpts you would like to use. They're your Transformers action figures, so you can make do with them with what you want. It's late at night and I'm very tired, so my vocabulary's failing me. But Haley, but you can use either head on this figure, and it still looks pretty impressive looking. Both of these head sculpts are based on the head sculpts that the Trooper soldiers had in the G2 comic books. If you wanted to, you could detach the tank turret from the back. Like if you want to give it a more sleek G1 Pretender in a robot appearance, which Skullgrin, the designers are going for with Skullgrin, I'm certain. The main drawback with the tank turret is that the only 5mm pegs that it has between all three parts are the two that keeps the laser guns attached to the center section. Everything else is 5mm ports, so now, apart from the 5mm port on the back, the only other 5mm ports that are found in this mold are the ones used here on these weapons. So, I think it's kind of a shame that for the tank turret laser gun pack, that the port is on the actual weapon itself, while the 5mm peg sticks off the back of the action figure. If they'd reversed that and had the peg here on the weapon and had the port on the back, I think it would be a lot more fun and interactive for collectors to and fans to use. But articulation's pretty much the same as it's been on all the figures. Head is technically on a ball joint, so it has the potential to look up and down, but it can only look up and down that far, or as you can see right there. Swivel joint in the neck, swivel joints in the shoulders, arms out this far at the shoulder, swivel joints in the bicep, but they're very stiff if out of the box. Hinged elbows, no wrist articulation due to how they transform. Arm. You have a waist swivel, and it has the potential to spin 360 degrees, but it works best if the backpack is taken off, and then the tail of the robot mode can move up and down. Now legs can go out this far, or back this far, forward that far. Or swivel joints in the thighs, hinged knees, and of course you you do have ankle pivots, but you have to be careful that you don't accidentally tug on the tank treads on the back of the legs. But yeah, overall, this is definitely a better figure than Skullgrin was, in my opinion. So, to wrap up the review, as far as the proverbial question of the review, you for the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Trooper 4-pack. Do I recommend getting this box set of Transformers action figures and adding it to your Transformers collection? I absolutely do. These are great army building figures. They're all fun to have. They each come from different moments in the Transformers franchise, and overall, I really enjoy the alternate head sculpts that you can get, especially for the Autot Trooper and the G2 Trooper. And I love that the new head sculpts don't take away from the gimmicks that these figures originally had, and that they all are pretty fantastic looking for being repaints and retools of previously released Transformers action figures. And oh, just like the before I forget, just like the Autot Trooper, if you open up the robot mode chest on the G2 Trooper, you do have storage for the alternate for the second robot head. And so if you're afraid of losing the alternate head, you can have it there inside the robot mode chest. It is much more secure on this one than it is on the Autot Trooper. But yeah, overall, they're all pretty fun. All four of these guys are definitely fun Transformers action figures to have. And the thumbnail of the video is no joke. I actually was interested in army building all these figures, so I got 4 copies of the Buzzworthy Bumblebee 4-pack. So I had said at the start of the review that one of the make it or break it deals with this box set, which is one of the reasons why there isn't much middle ground, and most collectors either love this set or they hate it, is because of the price tag of it. It's $78 to get this box set. If that's the retail price Target wants, and for any Transformers fans and collectors, they don't think the price is worth it. For me personally, I disagree. The price of this set is most definitely worth it, because individually, if these 4 Transformers figures were sold separately, the Decepticon Seeker would be $35, and then each of these guys would be $25, and that comes to $110 US currency. So at just $78 for this set, you're basically quote unquote getting one of the deluxe figures for free in this set. So yeah, I definitely disagree with everyone's complaining about the price tag. It is most definitely worth it for this set. So to answer the proverbial question, and do I recommend you get the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Troop Builder Multipack? I absolutely do. Even if you can only get just 1 copy of they are all fantastic repaints if you want, and you can give them names and identities if you don't want them to just be generic trooper soldiers, and you want them to not be drones and just be instead be fully fleshed out characters. Then you have the option to do that if you want. Do I recommend army building this set like I did by getting up to 4 copies? That's your choice. Always, it's your choice to decide how many copies of these you want. I've seen some people say that due to the price tag, they're only going to army build this by getting 2 copies of the set, and then using the alternate heads on the 2 different copies. But yeah, if I had to list all 4 figures from most favorite to least favorite, I'd say my favorite figure in the set is most definitely the Allicon Trooper. I'm really excited to finally have that alternate head sculpt from the Allicon mold. Second favorite, now that I've looked at all 4 of them, is definitely the Autot Trooper. And very close behind the Autot Trooper in third place, my third favorite figure in this set is the Decepticon Seeker. My least favorite figure in the set is still the G2 Trooper, but it's all personal preference. I've seen multiple collectors on the blogs, on the fan-based Transformers websites, and even on eBay, from individual figures from this pack. I've seen some people prefer some of these figures more than the others. Some people were buying these box sets just for 1 figure, some for just 2 figures, and then selling the others and hoping that people who don't want the figures they want would sell them as well. But I decided to just go all in, and I got 4 copies of each of them. And I do not regret doing that for me personally, because I've always believed, ever since I started collecting and Hasbro started releasing army building characters, I've always believed that 4 is a decent number when it comes to army building, because 4 is just enough of a number that you feel like you've army built the character, but you're not taking away too much room in your collection if you're running out of space, like I always am. And so thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek. This has been my review of the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee, a Troop Builder Multipack. I highly recommend you get at least 1 copy of this set if you can. And don't listen to the complainers. This set is most definitely worth the price tag. I apologize for the review going on for almost an hour. Hopefully you guys will watch it to the end. So thank you guys all so much, and until next time, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully I'll be able to get more reviews done tomorrow. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.